Petey Chapter 21. Trevor did nothing to locate Petey's friend Ike. He wanted the idea to brew a while to make sure it wasn't a huge mistake. Meanwhile, the Bozeman Daily Chronicle arranged to do the article on Petey. Their reporter, Ann Turner, met Trevor at the nursing home, and for an hour asked questions and took pictures. She warmed up to Petey as they visited. That's how it always was when people met Petey, Trevor thought. Trevor kept telling Miss Turner how badly Petey needed a new wheelchair. I still have to raise $2,500, he repeated as she ready to leave. We're in the news business, not the fundraising business, she answered, but Petey really does have an interesting life story. Just think how different his life would have been if they had known what cerebral palsy was in 1920. She paused for a moment. Petey is one of many people who didn't deserve to be put in an insane asylum. Sometimes certain stories touch hearts. I do hope this helps your friend. I do too, Trevor said as she left. Petey's face glowed and his eyes danced with anticipation. After everybody had left and they were alone, Petey caught Trevor's attention. Ike? Trevor swallowed hard and looked at Petey's tired eyes. Petey, are you sure you want to see Calvin again? Ike! Petey grunted firmly. I figured so, Trevor said, but I needed to be sure. Okay, I'll see if I can find him. When Trevor returned home that afternoon, he picked up the telephone and placed a call to Warm Springs. Hello, Warm Springs State Hospital, a polite female voice answered. Hello, I need information about a past patient. Let me connect you with records, the lady said. A dozen rings later, Trevor heard, Hello, records, how may I help you? The voice sounded impatient. Trevor cleared his throat. My name is Trevor Ladd. I need information about a patient that used to be at Warm Springs. Are you family? No, not exactly. I just need to know where one of your patients is living now. Is it an emergency? Trevor hesitated. No, I guess not. The lady responded firmly. I'm sorry, but you're asking for privileged information. Unless you're a relative or unless authorized by the patient, that information is confidential. Ma'am, please help me. If I had authorization from the patient, I'd know where he lived, and I wouldn't be calling you. I'm not asking for personal information. I just want to know where he lives. I'm sorry, but that is personal information. Trevor gripped the phone with white knuckles. Ma'am, what isn't personal for Pete's sake? Can you even tell me what time it is, or is that privileged information too? He slammed the phone down. As Trevor slowly relaxed his fists, he stewed. He knew he shouldn't get so mad, but he wasn't giving up yet. Hadn't Owen said something about seeing Calvin Anders in the Special Olympics? Trevor tracked down the Montana office for the Special Olympics and dialed the number. Hello, Special Olympics, answered a woman. Hello, my name is Trevor Ladd. Trevor decided that this time he'd take a more personal approach. I'm close friends with a cerebral palsy patient named Petey Corbin. Oh, how nice, Trevor. Ma'am, I need some information. One of your participants is an older man named Calvin Anders. He and Petey grew up together in Warm Springs State Hospital. Both of them were abandoned there. How sad. Can you imagine? The lady said. Trevor continued. At Warm Springs, they were separated against their will. He took a deep breath. Ma'am, can you please tell me where Calvin Anders lives so Petey can get a hold of him? Oh, I'm sorry, Trevor. I'm not authorized to give out that information. Trevor found himself again clutching the phone tightly. He tried to speak calmly. All they had was each other. For years they were best friends until they were transferred out. Nobody cared if they were friends, not until now. Ma'am, you're the only person I know who can help. Petey needs his friend. He's the closest thing to family he has. Please help me find Calvin Anders. After an awkward silence, the lady said, I'm afraid I can't tell you where he lives. Trevor was about to slam the phone down when she added, but perhaps you could find him by calling group homes around the state. She paused, especially those in Hamilton. Do you want those numbers? Trevor stammered to find words. Yes, please. Thanks so much. Oh, I didn't do anything, and do remember that. I will, but thanks anyway. You're welcome. After 5 calls to Hamilton, Trevor flopped back on the couch with a groan. His parents would have kittens when they saw the phone bill. Determined to complete his mission, Trevor dialed the last number on his list. Hello? A dull nasal voice answered. Hello, does Calvin live there? Trevor asked. The female voice wiggled. Nope, not here. This phone is in the kitchen, and Calvin's room is down the hall. If he lived here, he'd have to sleep on the stove. Then he'd get burned. Once more, the dull nasal voice cackled with laughter. The woman's stupid humor left Trevor speechless. It took him a moment to realize he was talking to one of the residents at the group home. That's not funny, he said. Silence on the phone showed feelings had been hurt. Is Calvin in his room right now? Nope, he's not around now. Trevor figured he'd better make doubly sure Calvin lived there. What's your name, he asked. My name is Sadie, the lady announced proudly. Sadie, I bet you don't know Calvin's last name, do you? Of course I know Calvin's last name. He lives here. She paused. Not on the stove, I don't mean. He lives down the hall. Again she crackled with laughter. So Sadie, what's Calvin's last name? Trevor asked. That's easy. Very slowly, Sadie ground out the next sentence, playing with each word. His name is Calvin Anders. Calvin Anders, she blurted. Yup, that's his name. See, I told you I knew it. Once more she giggled. Trevor tossed the receiver into the air and caught it. He'd found Calvin Anders. He was in Hamilton, a town nearly 200 miles away. Trevor interrupted Sadie's laughter. Thanks, Sadie. It sure has been fun talking to you. Remember, don't sleep on the stove. He could still hear her laughing when he hung up. He shook his head and smiled. If people like her were really nuts, maybe the world needed a few more nuts. Immediately, Trevor called Sissy to tell her the news. I guess the next stop is to call Calvin, Trevor said. Sissy seemed hesitant. Trevor, you'd better call the social services director in Hamilton first and make sure getting together is something Calvin wants too. Of course he would want to see Petey, Trevor said. You don't know that. I suspect Petey and Calvin have more history under their little fingernails than you and I could haul in a truck. Make sure you're not stirring up a hornet's nest. Okay. Reluctantly, Trevor called the social service director in Hamilton and explained the situation. The lady seemed truly interested. I'll talk to Calvin personally, she said. If getting together is something that he wants, I'll let you know. When Trevor hung up, his hands trembled. What if Calvin didn't want to get together? Then what? Trevor decided to avoid Petey for a couple of days. If Petey asked about Calvin, there would be no lying. Luckily, Trevor didn't have to wait long. The very next morning, a call came from Hamilton. Hello? Trevor answered. Hello? I'm calling from the Hamilton Social Services office. I have met with Calvin Anders and a volunteer advocate of his, Boyd Hanson. Yes, Calvin would love to see Petey. He was excited by the notion. The woman left the telephone number of Calvin's friend, Boyd Hanson. Yes! Trevor screamed, hanging up. He boxed his fists at the air. Bursting with excitement, he rode his bike straight to the Bozeman nursing home. He couldn't wait to tell Petey. Petey responded to news with utter disbelief. Ike? Ike? His eyes blinked with surprise and a touch of fear. Trevor didn't beat around the bush. He sat down and pulled Petey in his wheelchair alongside. Okay, Petey, let's talk about seeing Ike. Goo, goo. Petey, right now I'm scared stiff. Why? Because I don't want anything to hurt you. You're happy right now, aren't you? Petey nodded. I'm afraid seeing Calvin will be like digging up ghosts. Maybe you'll remember things you don't want to. You're a lot older and smarter than me. There's not a single inch of you that's dumb. I know that, and you know that. Aye. So I'm not going to tell you what you can or can't do. You have to decide. Just think of the good and the bad that can happen. Petey jerked his head up and down. Aye. Whatever you want, that's what we'll do. For a split second, Petey hesitated, as if afraid to hope for something that had been so painfully taken from him so long ago. Then all doubt disappeared with a broad smile. Oh, yeah! Oh, yeah! Happy tears filled his eyes. Tha-oo, he grunted. You're welcome. Trevor bent over and hugged Petey. How did I ever get to like you so much? Petey grinned, and Trevor took a deep breath. It was time to dig up ghosts.